So the social identity group that is at risk for oppression that I chose to talk about for this course and in this project specifically is homeless adults that are experiencing substance use disorder. Now, the reason I chose this population for this project is I plan on working in the addiction treatment field after I graduate, potentially while I'm still in school. And that population of people has a particular near and dear spot to me personally, as well as professionally. I myself am in long-term sobriety. I've been clean for multiple years now, and essentially, you know, I was fortunate enough to have a loving support system and some good luck spurts when I was younger. You know, however many members of that population they never get that chance. So, you know, I decided to go into social work once I returned to school to essentially, you know, give back and help those people that are experiencing that kind of hope. I find the intersectionality present within people experiencing homelessness and also suffering from addiction interesting, because it creates this kind of perfect storm of maltreatment and persecution in this country. You know, it's no secret that the odds are stacked against people experiencing substance abuse disorder and or homelessness in this country. You know, the frightening part is it can happen to anybody. You know, considering what happened back in 2008 with the housing market, even inflation today, you know, or like what happened to me when I was a teenager. I got my wisdom teeth taken out, and you know, the doctor prescribed me pain medicine. Or, you know, anybody could be in some kind of serious car accident or serious accident and have to be prescribed, you know, powerful opioids, and next thing you know, you're hooked. And unfortunately, you know, in the 21st century, the pharmaceutical companies, they didn't make it easy on people, and a lot of people are still suffering from that wave of prescription opioids that were prescribed, you know, in the past decade or so. Okay, so real quick, just want to talk about data as far as it is concerned, my population interest for this project. So, populating the number of people that are experiencing homeless as well as people that are suffering from substance use disorder, it's a little tricky. Some of the problems you run into is finding people that are experiencing homeless. Two, once you find them, sometimes they might deliberately hide the fact that they are homeless due to the stigma that surrounds identifying as such. Three, people that are only homeless for, you know, short intermittent periods, you know, for a couple days, a week, etc. And then finally, it's extrapolating the data from different geographic locations can be tricky too. So, and because you can't give a population, they're usually done on single day counts. So for example, 653,104 people were homeless on a single night in January 2023. And then as far as homeless adults who are experiencing, you know, drug abuse issues, estimates are somewhere between 10 and 15%. Okay, on to the second part of the project, which was the group's project. I'll just read you this excerpt from my paper, and then I'll get into the topic. Okay, this small group of individuals are all recovering addicts that were at one point experiencing homelessness. With varying lengths of sobriety, they gather regularly and do their best to fulfill the monumental task of assisting the local unsheltered homeless population by means of harm reduction in order to save as many lives as possible. This abundantly cooperative atmosphere creates a synergy that is necessary to accomplish goals that are clear, operationally defined, meaningful, and measurable. Okay, so the group I was talking about, it's a group that I'm actually in, so it was convenient for the project. Kind of background, it's a group of me and a handful of other guys. We're all in recovery. We've all been there before, and we met at the church that I used to attend in Pittsburgh called the Log Church, and we were all kind of brought together by our pastor, who was actually, unfortunately, had 2 of his children pass away from overdoses. So we all were kind of brought together, and so what we would do, we would get together from time to time, and there's actually several pretty infamous homeless encampments in Pittsburgh, and a couple of them are essentially open air drug markets, and you drive by and see people fold over on themselves and passed out, and making drug deals, and it's essentially just kind of a agreement that city officials and law enforcement kind of come to. We don't bother them if they don't bother us, and it's really spirited debate among the citizens of Pittsburgh. What's the most effective way of dealing with it. So as it stands, that's how it stands today. So I figured the best way to attack it would be harm reduction. So we go down there. We pass out fentanyl test strips, free Narcan. We just kind of talk to some of the guys, and if somebody's ready to put it down and try treatment out, we give them the resources. We can steer them in the right direction. So we've even given people rides to the detox place. So yeah, the group is led by dispositional leadership, Pastor Mike. There's accepted standards of behavior. Obviously, staying sober and staying clean and doing the next right thing in your life. Obviously that's a accepted standard of behavior for that. It's a heterogeneous group with semi-casual boundaries. It's forming, storming, norming, performing, and norming. Can't say that. It's present here. All right. So the third project was the organizations project. I wrote my paper on the 2nd Avenue Commons. It all kind of started with, initially I did the windshield survey for the discussion board, and just kind of drove around downtown Pittsburgh, around the encampments and stuff like that. And I kind of noticed that all the resources, the Department of Human Services, the DMV up here, PennDOT, all the resources you need if you're struggling or need government assistance, or the big hospitals, etc., all in kind of squished into one region. So I was kind of driving around there, and then I've driven past it before. I know about it. It's one of the bigger shelters here in town. But I just kind of I stopped, I got out, went in, looked around, talked to a couple of people, and was just really taken aback with how nice it is. And that's the 2nd Avenue Commons. It opened up in late 2022. It's 43,000 square foot facility. It's a low barrier emergency shelter housing. It's got 95 beds, and by low barrier, that's what I want to emphasize. You don't have to you don't have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get in there, and that's what makes it so innovative. Is it's difficult, sometimes tedious for people experiencing homelessness to get the help they need, and it's not the case here. You can essentially just walk in, talk to a case manager, and you can come in with your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your pet. They let you have dogs and cats. If they have beds available, it's hard to turn somebody away. They have an engagement center, like I said, with the case managers. Free Wi-Fi, laundry center, showers, computer lab. They've got like a professional kitchen with like job training opportunities. There's a primary care provider in the building, like a medical care. There's a behavioral health center in the building. When it was interesting, one of the people that worked there, they said it was kind of a home base, for street outreach workers, which is ironic because it's kind of considered myself, and I've really been through there, so that was cool. And but also another thing I found interesting is it wasn't just the city that opened it. It was 15 different corporations, government and service providing, entities came together to make it. So there's a bunch of stakeholders in it, which makes it really, diversified undertaking. But the operator of the shelter is Pittsburgh Mercy. And Pittsburgh Mercy is the detox I spoke earlier about. That's who operates that as well. It's a wonderful medical detox facility, probably the nicest one I've ever seen. And so Mercy, it's in the 1830s. There's a religious organization called Sisters of Mercy in Ireland, and they came over here in the 1840s, started a hospital in Pittsburgh, and so that's who runs that. And kind of talked about in my paper, they had a fire back in June, 3-level fire for it was an air conditioning unit on the roof, and just this amazing story about how the community, the city officials came together, got everything repaired, got everything taken care of, and they opened back up last month, just in time for, city officials kind of came together and they decided to do something about one of the homeless encampments, and they broke it up. But the thing that the commendable aspect of that is they didn't just break it up and throw everybody in jail or tell everybody to go somewhere else, etc. No, they put everybody in vans, and they made sure they got offered shelter assistance, detox, whatever they needed. They didn't just kick them, say, hey, get out of here. They made sure that every single person was accounted for and trying to get the help they needed. And there's a few news articles on that. It's pretty commendable. So I'll give it to Pittsburgh on that one. Okay, moving on to ecosystems theory. For ecosystems theory, it's going to be using my group's project as a reference. So just to read a couple excerpts here for you. Multiple elements that are important to me in my life connected in one way or another to contribute to the formation and performance of the group. Elements like support groups, church, the social environment of Pittsburgh, the culture of recoveries, and the social justice and questions in the economy. Interdependence is illustrated through my desire to help people as a means to maintain long-term sobriety. An example of person and environment theory would be our group. We had a safe word. Like if one of us felt uncomfortable or triggered or was in a weird situation, we had a code word we'd yell out to one another. And so it takes into account both the individual and the multiple environments within which the individual interacts, acknowledging that both share a reciprocal relationship. When my small group goes out to perform, there's could be a million multiple different, dynamics, interactions that could take place. Ecosystem theory provides relativity to synergy in our groups, scenarios, and through that synergy, our group, as a group, we could accomplish more than we could as an individual. That's 1000% true. I also found it interesting that groups have life development cycles as well. And finally, the external environment, which the needs of people experiencing homelessness, dictates the inner workings of our group. That internal functioning of the group depends on the needs of whatever individual we come across that day. Even the membership of our group is relative to ecosystems theory. For example, if we are not engaging with people enough, we lose members. If we engage with people too much, sit down and partake in illicit drugs with them or something like that, we lose members as well. So there's that balance, the external environment. Going back to the organizational aspect of this project, the Second Avenue Commons, what I chose to do for that part of the project is what I want to talk about for cultural competence. I feel like they're just a wonderful example of the subject. I'm just going to read you their mission statement. Come as you are, we welcome you, we're here for you, we'll meet you where you are, we'll listen to you and to your wants, needs, and hopes for the future. Your present experience with homelessness does not define you, now or in the future. We'll walk alongside you, support you, and empower you in your journey to well-being. Let's take that first step together. Back when I discussed the Sisters of Mercy religious group that kind of started the Pittsburgh Mercy group back in Ireland, Their cornerstone, what they're founded on, and this was big in the mid 19th century, was that they would accept at their hospital, they would accept you, regardless of race, nationality, age, gender, or religion. That was huge back then, and doing my research into it and actually visiting the organization, I can really relate to you that it is an extremely inclusive environment. Everyone there is very helpful. Like I said earlier, they don't turn anyone away, no matter what you look like, where you came from, what you're going through, and that I feel like that is so important, because there's just a huge stigma on people experiencing homelessness, people that are dealing with substance use disorder, and like I said earlier, having dealt with it myself, it's a dark place, and people need help. People need our help. That's why I want to go into this career. They need as many people battling on the front lines of this war, because it is not getting any better. So going back to the Second Avenue Commons, the organization I picked for this project on the third part of the project, is what I want to talk about for cultural competence. I feel like they're a great example of it. I'm just going to read you their mission statement. Come as you are, we welcome you, we're here for you, we'll meet you where you are, we'll listen to you and to your wants, needs, and hopes for the future. Your present experience with homelessness does not define you now or in the future. We'll walk alongside you, support you, and empower you in your journey to well-being. Let's take that first step together. You going back to when they're, the Pittsburgh Mercy, the Sisters of Mercy thing back in the 1840s in Ireland, they were really important too, because they would accept people regardless of race, nationality, age, gender, religion, and that was huge for anywhere in the 19th century. And doing my research and actually visiting Second Avenue Commons, I'll relate to you, they're extremely inclusive. Like you see in their mission statement, they don't turn anyone away. They don't make they might feel anybody weird, or they try to help, and even they can even accept your pets. So it's an extremely cultural competent environment, which is so important, especially dealing with the population of interest I chose for this project, because there's just, even in 2024, a huge stigma on people experiencing homelessness, people experiencing substance use disorder, and this population of people in our country need as many people as they can, fighting in their corner. They don't have enough, and just so Second Avenue Commons, it's got national attention for their low barrier enrollment intake process, and I believe it's a shining example of cultural competence. Okay, so just going to talk real quickly about what I learned. So, general systems theory, ecosystems theory, those new concepts for me. Just kind of learning how everything is, kind of interrelated and interacts. So social work is a well-oiled machine. I'd never imagined all the moving parts that are going to advocating for a specific oppressed population or people that are at risk. What I've learned, writing all these research papers and discussion boards, I've learned about, all the people, boots on the ground, that are out there, fighting the good fight, and all the people in the background doing the research, in order to further develop methodology to aid humanity. Intersectionality for me was really interesting. Once I started, identifying my own personal biases, and really look at the human experience in sort of objective point of view, I was really astonished to consider all the differences that end up being similarities, essentially. Cultural competence was a big thing for me. I mean, obviously it's a basis for being a human, essentially, but educating myself on efficient ways to communicate across cultures was really educational for me. For example, like the different ways different heritages and ethnicities, approach life, or the family dynamic, say in a Hispanic family or someone of Asian American descent. It's just kind of mind blowing to see all the different kind of ways to if you have a client of a certain background, what to say, what not to say, how to go about this, which family member do you want to invite into the room. It's just it's really. In conclusion, I'm extremely satisfied with the population of interest I chose for this project. It really confirmed for me my choice for pursuing social work as a master's program and my professional goals in the near future. It's definitely for me. I'm feeling like I'm really grasping all the theories and concepts and what I read in the textbook. I'm passionate about learning more. I've really enjoyed all the discussion board posts, conversations with you guys. It didn't even feel like homework. It just felt like I was having a conversation with a like-minded individual. I can't wait to see what the future brings. Good luck to everybody. Thanks for having me, and might see you again in the future. Thanks.